This is the Bible Touchstone. I wanted to discuss something that I think is pretty important. I've been thinking about this for a few months lately, and when meeting new preterists, I'll often share experiences and we'll discuss and trade testimonies about how we came to believe the scriptures when it comes to fulfilled prophecy and realized eschatology. And sometimes I'll be asked if I found a church that accepts me, and if we'll share experiences about that kind of thing. And sometimes I'll find that a lot of preterists either get kicked out of their church or their local Christian community, and sometimes I'll find, sadly, that a lot of preterists will, especially neophyte Christians and neophyte preterists, I'll find that they, by their own volition, they'll leave the church because, according to them, they can't stand hearing the lies of futurism, and they can't bear hearing or being associated with anything that has to do with futurism. So a lot of times it's from being disillusioned, and also a feeling of being disassociated from the church, and this big bad church that is persecuting them, and that kind of thing. So I wanted to discuss this and really appeal to, if you're a preterist, especially a new Christian or whatever, I wanted to appeal to you and explain the necessity of going to church. When I talk about going to church, I'm not talking about it's a formal commandment in the Bible, and if you don't do it, then you're committing a sin. But what I'm talking about is a responsibility, and a believer is accountable to their local Christian community to exhort them and to console with them and to edify one another, to show each other their loves and to consult. All those things, it's so important for you to be invested and to serve your Christian community. And I want to share, for example, when I was a young believer, a neophyte Christian, I was first involved in the charismatic tradition, and I was really just searching for a feeling. I was looking for a religious, spiritual experience. And so I would go around to churches nearly every day of the week, and different churches, and I felt like I was hungry for God, and I was on fire for the Lord. And one time I was rebuked by a so-called prophetess because she said that I was a church hopper and a spiritual whore because it was all about me, and I just wanted to get my word or get my spiritual belly fed all the time. I was just thinking about me and not getting grounded into one church. Now, even though this woman is definitely no prophetess, but there was some kernel of truth to what she had to say about going to church. It's not always about you, and it's not always, certainly you need to get your, there are some spiritual needs, like the teaching that you're going to get from going to a church and an ordained pastor or minister. You're going to get a lot out of that, but there's a lot more to do with your servitude for the church. And though when it comes to disagreements, if you're a preterist, for example, we're not here to cause upheaval or to change the system radically or to cause division within our churches. Now, there's a lot of obstinate people. It doesn't even have to be a preterist. For example, like I'm Paedo-Baptist, for example, and I know a lot of Paedo-Baptists who wouldn't dare go to a believer's baptism church, something that would, a church that has that kind of belief system, and they carry that around in their banner. So what do? You just, if you don't have a Paedo-Baptism church available to you or a presbytery, what do? Do you just succeed from going to church? Is this your excuse not to go? You're ignoring certain responsibilities that you have to that church, and even though we may have divisions on some of these non-essential doctrines like baptism or eschatology, it doesn't mean that you're the only one that has this ultimate truth, and that other church is not like-minded believers, that they're not regenerated or anything like that. You have a duty to be a part of that local community. So disagreements about the church, I mean, all these, if you're going to succeed for church on these reasons, you're just causing division, and especially if you're a preterist, you're not making the preterist cause look any better by retreating like a hermit and not getting invested in your community. Also, the biblical system of the church and the presbyteries and the hierarchies involved, it is based on some authority. there's authority in, for example, the pastor, the minister, and the elders, and all those things, the bishops. All these things are in the Bible, and this sort of authority here is there for a purpose. If it weren't there, then it would be, for example, you could, I'm not trying to talk bad about Congregationalist church, but I mean, if without this sort of central authority, and of course the ultimate groundwork is from Jesus Christ, his words, and what was recorded in the scriptures, and what the apostles built upon that. Of course, we build upon that, but there is a sense of there's a groundwork there that shouldn't be haphazardly changed on any person's given whim or will. Preterism is just too young for and immature for it to just come around and change everything like that so quickly in this time. So submitting to the church is in some sense necessary, and of course you're not going to believe every single thing, as I mentioned, that your pastors are teaching or that your elders are accepting. You're not going to believe every single thing 100%. That goes for generally all believers, because especially when it comes to eschatology. I recently listened to a podcast from a very vocal opponent to, as he calls it, hyper-preterism, and he suggests that the preterist camp is just not unified, but the futurist camp has never really been unified on eschatological matters when it comes to doctrinal matters. So when it comes down to that, I mean, are only the mid-tribs, are they the only ones that are the true church? Are only the pre-mills the only ones that are the true church? So, I mean, it goes on and on. Often when I'll be in Bible studies sometimes for many months, or I could be part of a congregation, and I'll go the longest time, and many will never ever find out that I'm a preterist, or we may never even get into eschatology. So, I mean, I've never been cast out formally from any kind of church because I'm not in there causing upheaval or causing division. I'm not there with an agenda. I'm there to fellowship with like-minded believers and to receive teaching from that institutionalized authority. So I wanted to exhort and basically hope that if you're a preterist and you're not going to a local church, that you consider these things and you consider your responsibility and how important these things are. It certainly doesn't help your cause if you're, just sitting with your arms crossed and you're lazy boy all the time. Certainly you're maybe reading the scripture and studying the scripture, maybe you're arguing on the internet, but it doesn't help your cause or make you look any better if you're just this hermit that succeeds from your responsibilities in the church. So I hope you please consider my appeals here and my case. As always, grace be to you.